I got inspired by my father who has been trading into markets for last 40 years now.
Yeah.
लेकिन उसके बाद भी you can call me a useless child जो अपने पापा से learnings भी नहीं ले पाया. When they are losing money, I said, यार ये problem मेरे को जो 2009 में आई थी, वो problem अगर 2023 तक किसी ने solve नहीं करी है, why shouldn't I take that step forward and let me become that best friend for the users?
So this is very interesting actually. What you're saying essentially is that it is not about any analysis or numbers or technicality around it. It is more about figuring out the pulse of the consumer sentiment and financial behavior, right?
So the millennials are actually valuing कि यार मुझे 5 साल के लिए यहाँ से बता अच्छी वैल्यू पे स्टॉक्स मिल रहे हैं, एक बास्केट बता दे, मुझे डेली उसमें ट्रेड नहीं करना. However, if I look at more Gen Zs and early age, early 20s, mid 20s, these people are more inclined towards the trading mindset. So they want like daily का मुझे वो trading ideas तो daily मुझे trade करना है. When I went to the VCs, everybody said, यार ये तो सिर्फ bull market product है, तुम लोग tips ही तो देते हो और तो थोड़ी कुछ करते हो, और they were not understanding that India is changing habits. आपने जिस तरीके से सोचा वो हर VC नहीं सोच पा रहा था. And that was a very big plus, I said, boss, and I told it to my investment banker specifically. मैंने कहा यार 2-4 मिलियन वैल्यूएशन में चलेगा, लेकिन यार Bertelsmann डेफिनेटली आना बोर्ड पे अच्छी चीज़ है. एंड सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर वाज कि you guys are a long-term investor and a balance sheet investor.
In the first 10 years of our journey, Rohit and my journey and our journey has been very similar. We started almost together, BII. I used to say that we are the professional spouse for founders. We have not a 5 to 10 year relationship. We have a 20-year relationship, at least 15-year relationship, because that's how we think whether we'll stay in the company or so on. And that's a definition of the long-term nature of our relationship. I think I have now revised that completely. I was 100% wrong.
It's longer.
I think it's a 40 to 50-year journey.
Wow.
Building on that, Pankaj and Rohit from BII sit down with Pranit in this episode to unpack how his vision is taking shape and what it means for the future of investing.
So I was trading in the markets for last 15 years. And I got inspired by my father who has been trading into markets for last 40 years now.
Yeah.
लेकिन उसके बाद भी you can call me a useless child जो अपने पापा से learnings भी नहीं ले पाया कि exactly market से पैसा बनाना कैसे है. So still first 2 to 3 years, if I remember correctly, I have made a lot of losses in the stock market, and I was in, I think, 3rd year of my graduation. So वहाँ पे जब मुझे realize हुआ कि यार मैं क्यों losses कर रहा हूँ, I have learned all the basics of fundamentals, I have learned the technicals, I thought would be killing in the markets. But then I realized there is a lot beyond learning these basic definitions of fundamentals and technicals. Yeah. And that's when I started following the discipline in markets and I started making money. Mm-hmm. Cut to 15 years from then.
When was that?
This is 2009.
Okay.
2008, 2009.
Okay.
Right after, the crash, the Great Recession. I kind of started investing कि यहाँ से तो पैसा बनेगा, सब लोग बना रहे हैं, मैं भी बनाता हूँ.
But that was not your day job.
No, that was not my daily job. I was just like a normal engineering student like everyone else. But
so your day job was engineering student, and in the evening, let's make some money on the side with whatever pocket money and extra money you have.
Correct. So I used to take coaching classes and I used to teach students. Okay. तो वो पैसा बाकी जगहों पे in engineering colleges typically people spend on booze and everything. I used to take that money and lose it in stock market.
Achha.
So that was my daily job. In classes, sometimes I used to trade as well. The day I used to make money, I used to tell it to 5 friends of mine. The day I used to lose money, I would just, survive on my friends' money. So that was my kind of starting into markets. So later I realized कि market में पैसा बनता कैसे, and I kept on learning and kind of started making small money from the markets. Back in 2022 is when I realized कि यार equity has been the highest returning asset class for last 15 years as a CAGR level. But if you look at number of traders who are losing money, it's tremendous. 70% of the people who are trading in cash segment, they were losing money. And 93% of the people who are trading in options and futures, they are losing money. Now, when they are losing money, I said, यार ये problem मेरे को जो 2009 में आई थी, वो प्रॉब्लम अगर 2023 तक किसी ने सॉल्व नहीं करी है, why shouldn't I take that step forward and let me become that best friend for the users that आप इस रिटेल इन्वेस्टर जो इस स्टॉक मार्केट से पैसा लूज कर रहा है, what I did for myself in 2009-2010, let me start with that for the users on the Univest app, and that's how we kind of started the journey by providing the retail advisory services to the retail investors of the country at very, very affordable cost. And honestly, within 7 months of launching the platform, our retention numbers, we saw they were crazy high at that point in time. We were providing these services for free. We saw our DAOs to mouse ratios were upwards of 40%, which is more than that of sometimes Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Right. And our revenue growth, which we saw when we started monetizing it for the first time, within first 7 months, we became the largest research analyst in the country.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that was the need of the hour. And we
Wow.
just cracked it because kind of me and some of the core team members also felt the same way. कि हाँ यार लोगों में lack of discipline, lack of knowledge की कमी है, उसी को ही solve करते हैं. And then people will start making money and they'll pay something to us.
And Pranit, how did your co-founding team and initial team came together? Very complementary skills. So what's the story behind that?
Great. So I'm very bad at tech and product. Although I'm a computer science engineer, I realized that I can never be a great computer science engineer. That's why I did my MBA. So I had to find a good techie and a good product guy. And I have worked with my brother-in-law, who is Avneet, at Oyo in the professional capacity also. And I have seen that he was a fantastic product guy. So one day he comes to my house and he says, कि Pranit, he came after a US visit. He was working as a product head monetization for Book My Show. And he came कि यार Pranit, life तो US में है, वहाँ चलते हैं, वहीं settle होते हैं. And I was like, यार US छोड़, मैं तुझे इंडिया में एक आइडिया बताता हूँ, ये $1 billion आइडिया है. And that's when I told him the idea. He said, यार बात तो आपकी सही है. And we clicked instantly because he has also been trading into markets and he realized कि नहीं यार बात सही है. Let's do it together. So that's how we found, we too started this company, and 4 months later, we were looking for a CTO who can lead the tech initiatives also. And we hired Vikas Agarwal, who is our co-founder and CTO now. He was doing fantastically well, very good ownership, very hands-on on tech products. And therefore, we said within 4 months of him joining in, we said, let him also become the co-founder because he deserves to be one.
Superb.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things, and Rohit and I, we were doing a chat 2 days back on what attracts very strong, capable leaders to come together to create a large company. And I think the mission and the vision that you are kind of getting into, and you want to devote the next, let's say, decade or two of your life to build that business, plays a very important role. And the interpersonal chemistry between the founders and the founding team plays the second most important role in some of those topics. And I think we've seen your team being extremely passionate on solving this massive problem, which, by the way, as users, we face as well in a significant way. In fact, when we heard about this idea, we thought that we can use this product. And we are venture capitalists. We do a lot of investments on the private side, not on the public side. But this is a problem even for us. So people who don't understand how to do investing, this is a black box. So I think if you end up democratizing this in a massive way, which you're already doing, that will be a big benefit to all the Indians in the country, I would say.
So I think there's a very famous saying by Warren Buffett, which is, buy when the markets are fearful and sell when the markets are greedy. Unfortunately, in India and across the globe, what I have seen is that people do exactly the opposite, which is they buy when the markets are greedy and they sell when the markets are fearful.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, the biggest mistake which people commit in stock market, and that is why they lose money. In fact, I try to relate everything with what I have learned from my life. Like that's how I have grown up with. Like बचपन में जब मार्केट में सेल लगती थी, तो मम्मी कहती थी बेटा डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर हुआ अपने लिए शॉपिंग कर लो क्योंकि मार्केट में सेल लगी है,
Yeah.
यू आर गेटिंग एवरीथिंग एट 50% डिस्काउंट. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली इन इंडिया जब स्टॉक मार्केट में 50% डिस्काउंट लगता है स्टॉक्स पे, उस टाइम पे लोग भाग जाते हैं
Yeah.
डर के. एंड जब मार्केट में फ्रेश में हर स्टॉक मिल रहा होता है, तब सारे लोग भागते हैं बिकॉज एट दैट टाइम द मार्केट्स आर ग्रीडी.
I think the average retail investor would say to that we don't know when the market is fearful or greedy. Like, what would you say to that? How do you find an insight in that?
So, like when I entered this room, you said, "Is it a time to take exit?"
Yeah.
That's the time when you should be entering, right? When the people around you start saying that, यार मेरा 30% लॉस हो गया, 40% लॉस हो गया, मैं तो स्टॉक मार्केट में नहीं घुसूंगा. If you don't have any knowledge about stock market, you don't have any knowledge about the fundamentals of the companies, you don't have any knowledge about the technicals, how to evaluate a stock. Just start understanding in the nearby vicinity कि यार आप लोग सब अब बेचने की बात कर रहे हैं क्या? That's the time when institutions actually double down their position.
So this is very interesting actually. What you're saying essentially is that it is not about any analysis or numbers or technicality around it. It is more about figuring out the pulse of the consumer sentiment and financial behavior, right?
So it is a mix of both, I would say. For the people, for the general masses who don't have any knowledge about stock markets, yes, the sentiment plays a very important role. Otherwise, Univest to hai.
Yeah.
You know, on that count, you know, as user behavior, what I understand is, and please tell me whether you agree with me or not, but if I am a retail user and I see a specific stock price or the indexes, whether it's Sensex or Nifty, if they're climbing up every day, my intuition as a layman is that this is going up, it will continue to go up. So let's put money because it is in that zone of going up. I don't know whether it's reached that peak or not. And therefore, when the markets, everybody is feeling greedy, I am also feeling greedy because I can see that going up. That's the only data point I have with me. And similarly, when Nifty and Sensex are going down, I am very fearful to put money because as soon as I put my money into that particular index or stock and it goes down even further, I lose money. And that is my massive fear because I don't understand anything. So I think over there, having a very strong, trusted hand on my shoulder to say, don't worry, this is the bottom or near the bottom, invest, and it will go up whether next month, 2 months later, 3 months later, or if it's the peak, don't invest here. We think that this is almost around the peak, start selling. Those signals are needed in the market for layman. Otherwise, we cannot invest actively in stocks.
Absolutely.
No, unfortunately, social media has not helped this as well, right? In our research also, it came so thoroughly when we were spending time on Univest. If you go to Telegram, YouTube, there are so many channels which would tell people what to do, where to invest, and it would typically be herd mentality because that's easier to sell. It is easier to tell a potential investor to invest when the market is going up. Nobody is actually doing the hard work of educating the end investor, telling them the right thing, advising on the exit, and actually standing behind their convictions and calls and being transparent about it. That I think was so clear when we were doing that research, and that is where I think our product and our conviction actually shown over there.
Yeah. And obviously not all calls will be right. Some of them may go wrong. So therefore building a portfolio obviously makes sense so that most of the time you are right and a few times you are wrong and still on aggregate you are making money. But what is very interesting is this is not a problem in India for people who don't understand finance. I know chartered accountants, lawyers, people in my extended family and friends who think that I am an investor and probably I may therefore know stocks. While I don't, I'm a venture capitalist and I know about startups. I don't know about stocks. I used to get a lot of queries on a weekly, monthly basis. यार 3-4 स्टॉक बता दो जिसमें हमारा पैसा डबल ट्रिपल हो जाए 1-2 साल में, right? And I would tell them, but that is not what I do. Thankfully, after spending time with you, Pranit, and investing in Univest, I now send them all to Univest. Please go to Univest, take your subscription, be happy, and please don't call me. They are the guys, I am not the guy to do it. So what I'm trying to say is, What we felt was this is not a problem for, let's say, the hypothetical 200, 300 million people who don't understand finance. 1.4 billion people में से आप very old people and very young people हटा दीजिए, everybody in the middle, the 500 to 700 million people का ये problem है, assuming they have the appetite and the intent to invest in the markets. It will be, if we end up solving the way we are solving it, we are really going to bring a new revolution into the country by improving how financial markets kind of operate, if we can get all these retail investors to have faith that you can actually make money in the stock markets.
True.
So we have had a history with WealthTech. Pankaj knows. We have been tracking this segment now close to a decade. I think 2014-15 is anyways when the market and mutual funds all started to take off. We have looked at various companies, good ones, good founders we have seen. We were always skeptical about the right approach, the right monetization model, the right consumer-centric approach that is needed. We as a fund are actually big believers. We have this internal saying that in fintech, fin always comes before tech, right? It's true for lending, it's true for insurance, it's true for wealth also in my view. And it is hard to find a company building in that ethos. I remember when we met, when was it? Back in 2024 early. I remember I remember I was reluctant to take this meeting because I was skeptical of what Univest was building at that point from a very high 30,000 foot level. I remember walking into the meeting and being completely blown away by you, Pranit, and the vision that you had, right? And there were 2-3 things that definitely stood out as compared to most of the firms that I had spent time with at that point, and I had looked at nearly everything you can imagine. Um, One was just the clarity of thought, right? The idea of where you wanted to go in 5 to 7 years, and the path to that, right? On what is important in terms of reaching out to the customer in the right way, delivering value, uh, how to acquire them at the cost at which you can service them profitably. I think that struck a chord with me. And then when and how do you decide on a next product and a revenue line? I don't think anybody has articulated a vision or a roadmap that clearly. Secondly, I think the consumer centric nature. I remember the small little tidbits that we discussed, right? That our customer does not need a call on 7,000 stocks, right? Out there on what to buy, what to sell, right? They have limited capital. They need to manage that. We are building for a very specific use case and a very specific audience. I don't think anybody has articulated that level of consumer insights in any of the conversations. I think that clarity of thought then reflected in clarity of product, which I think was a great combination. I got hooked. So from my skepticism in the first meeting to my excitement to becoming a customer to diving into research, and obviously Pankaj had a big role in the middle to play, which I'm jumping on, and he can add to that. I think it was an upward curve, and it remains, and I think we are extremely bullish as of now.
No, just to add to that, I think as Rohit mentioned, we have been looking at WealthTech as a segment for a very long period of time because we have seen what has happened in the US in the 1980s, 90s when Fidelity and Vanguard, etc., got built. When a lot of household savings start getting channelized into financial markets and the domestic investor becomes very important, a massive boom comes. It's not even a boom, it's a revolution that comes. And on the back of it, I mean, Vanguard and Fidelity are what, some trillions of dollars, some crazy numbers, right? So building, we thought that we are entering into that era where not only do we have tailwinds, we have tailwinds which are kind of revolutionary in nature. And then we had to figure out how do we play those tailwinds. And from that perspective, and I think when such tailwinds and revolution happens, multiple players benefit. We of course saw emergence of zero brokerage and very good players getting built as part of that. We saw wealth tech companies for high net worth individuals take off in a big way. and build large businesses. And when people started taking money out of their real estate, their gold, and started parking them into financial services and so on. And I think the government of India has played a fantastic role in channelizing some of that by making sure that more money comes into the formal economy. Once more money comes into the formal economy and black money reduces, then that becomes very fungible. It doesn't need to just stay in, let's say, an asset like real estate. It can move into any asset. And over there, obviously, we know that financial markets give a better return over time, longer term, than real estate in general. And that's a known fact all over the world. All of that started kind of happening. And of course, post-COVID, we saw that accelerating a lot. And hence, we continue to be very bullish on the wealth tech topic, where we do think that Indians in the next 10, 20, 30 years will invest significantly in financial markets. So I think there's no dispute about it.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
If I may add, data, I don't know, Pranit, if I've shared this piece of, research with you, exactly to Pankaj's point, when we looked at India wealth market and compared it across the globe, in India currently only 10 to 12% households have access to equities, either direct or through mutual fund. That's it. That number today in US is 60 to 65%. So is in Singapore, so is in Australia. And that's just half the interesting part of it. The biggest thing that we saw is that every country saw a 15 to 20-year journey where this number spiked exponentially from exactly this 10% number to a 65% number. In US, that started, Pankaj, to your point, in 1980 and reached this number in 1999. And it has stayed in that 60 to 65% till date for the last 25 years. Same in Singapore, same in Australia. They all had that 15 to 20%, 20-year journey towards this number. We had this conviction. In fact, China had started after 2011. They are roughly around 25 to 30% now.
Correct.
Right? In India, we believe that we are there now. It started in 2014, 15. Now looking back, we can see in the data that kink seems to come over there. We can see it accelerating during COVID. I'm sure in other countries also there would have been, contributing macro factors. And as this happens, there are so many new investors that are going to get into the market. Not just new, but younger generation. It just needs a different product. Like, we were so convinced that discount brokerages and platform like Zerodha democratized, access to the market in a different way. By the way, when Zerodha started, there were more than 200, more than 300 brokerages at the time. Exactly, right? But there's a time for a product. There's a time for an idea.
And they execute well on the model.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is what our conviction is, that we think that the time for this idea is now, because of these trends, because of the kind of people who are about to enter the market.
Because the infrastructure has been laid out by these discount brokerages, the question is not how to invest in the market. The question is where to invest in the market.
Exactly.
So it moved from how to where.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Univest comes in, and we are very happy that you are providing that strong support to the retail investors on where to invest. I think, of course, we have seen massive, and Rohit, you alluded to that, massive mushrooming of social media influencers, some legit, some not so legit, giving advice to the masses of India, and people are readily paying them for stock tips and so on. I think we need to take that informal economy and move that into a formalized structure, which is highly regulated by SEBI. Make sure that we are 100% adherence to the law, and people go to good quality, fully compliant research analysts and get the right advice and end up creating the right portfolio, because that's only when the markets can do well, when investors do well, and they have to have the right advice with them to do so.
Sure. And just to add to what you said, right? And like, I have seen this journey of brokerages. We used to have our own sub broker back in 2008. So I've seen it very, very closely. In 2014, if I remember correctly, there were about 20 million demat accounts. And at that time, traditional brokerages like the likes of Anand Rathi's and Motilal Oswal's and Angel Ones of the world, and they had like a massive market share of around, lion's share of about 90-95%. Then one day there is one discount brokerage who comes to the market. He realizes that, it is still not democratized. if we have over 1 billion people in India and only 20 million people have demat accounts, what is the reason? Somebody came in and he said that, boss, if you have to buy a 1 crore rupee Reliance stock, you have to pay 40,000 rupees to the traditional brokers in the form of brokerages alone. And back then, he said, I will do it at 20 rupees. And that's when the biggest shift started happening, that everybody, especially the new users, the new entrants, they started adopting for the discount brokerages. Back in, thanks to government initiative of UPI and everything, where the digitalization also started happening, the transfer of money became extremely easy. And that's when another leg of growth came in. The final leg came in 2020 when the COVID happened, the post-COVID scenario. This 20 million actually today is about 200 million demat account users. And this is of about 110 million unique users, which is less than 10% or 9 to 10% of users in India.
Yeah.
Today, what has happened is that discount brokerage is now getting commoditized. Earlier, the lion's share was with traditional brokers, which had 90% share. Today, discount brokers have about 75 to 80% share. But now the discount brokerage is getting commoditized. Now people are saying that ये तो मुझे पता है सस्ता मिलेगी brokerage, ये बता पैसे कैसे बनाऊं. So that is where the WealthTech play is now coming into picture, that we want platforms where I'm not just enabled to do the transactions, but I am also empowered to create wealth. And that is where Univest comes into picture.
One of the analogy I always think of when I think about this issue, while it's not an apple to apple analogy, is the OTT platform. Right? When Netflix came, it became a big rage of how to watch movies and shows online and how to watch content online. How was getting solved by Netflix? By creating a technology platform. But what you assume now, and this is where a lot of discount brokerages are, they are empty boxes where they've solved how, but they don't have any content in it. Now imagine Netflix without any content. That is your definition of zero brokerage. It doesn't have any content. What to watch, nobody is telling you. It just tells you how to watch it.
That's correct.
Now, but OTT as a platform works when you have the technology layer of how to watch it, and it has a lot of content which then, and then you kind of figure out what is the best match between the user and what content you want to watch, and therefore you end up watching Games of Thrones, you watch House of Cards, you watch all the top shows, etc. Then this becomes a powerful combination for the user. The user wants both these topics. I think with Univest, you are building both of them, while most of the people end up building only one. The other analogy with the same analogy, by the way, I have is assuming that today only you are doing it, and therefore you only have, this is the only option for the retail investors to kind of take a research plus brokerage model. But even if tomorrow some people were to copy that, and this is something that Rohit and I discussed probably a lot, that listen, people do take Netflix, Amazon, Z and 5 different OTTs because every OTT has different content. Provided you are not very expensive and people can afford 2-3 OTT platforms on their apps and on their TV, they'll take all of them because they want to see multiple content. Similarly, if people want to see multiple stock ideas, and I'm assuming your idea might be different from your competitor and so on, and if the cost works, which I think in your case absolutely it works, people can have 2-3 research brokerage. And by the way, institutions do that all the time. If I am a large investment house, I would take research of a Goldman Sachs and a Morgan Stanley and a Citibank, and I will have access to 3-4 of them, not just one. So we think that from that perspective, what you're building is extremely powerful. And while India needs more of this, I do hope that at some point people wake up and build similar businesses, because that is the need of the hour.
Correct. I would classify Gen Zs and millennials into 2 different buckets. Gen Zs would be more on the side of experiment doers, versus on the millennial side, I would put them into the bucket of, the safeguard ones, right? Why do I say so? the millennials, which is primarily 1980s and 1990s, right, which they have already seen the era of 2008 fall. They have seen the kind of losses and the kind of bloodbath which was there in the markets back in 2008, 2009. And if they are still surviving, then they know कि यार मुझे वो 21 दिन में पैसा डबल करने की स्कीम में नहीं जाना. Versus a Gen Z, who was born in the late 2000 era, and in 2010 and all 2005, these guys have mostly seen the era of UPI, the era of crypto, and the era of whatnot. I mean, a lot of Telegram people keep on telling them कि ये पैसा 25 दिन में हो जाएगा, ये 2 महीने में डबल हो जाएगा. So they have seen most of it, right? Therefore, they are not scared to do the experiments per se. So that is where the difference of investing comes in. Coming to the second part, which is whether a Gen Z is only looking for validating the investment because they already have an idea in mind, the answer is yes and no, because a smart Gen Z or a smart millennial, what I have seen from the data at Univest is that these guys are looking for quality advisors, whether it's a Gen Z or a millennial. It is dependent on आपने stock market में loss एक बार ले लिया या नहीं.
Yeah. Okay.
If you have taken a loss in stock market, whether you are a Gen Z or a millennial, at that point, and you're still surviving in the market, right? You still want to make money from stock market because people understand that at the end of the day, equity has been and will always for the next 30, 40, 50 years, जब तक कि हमारा 2047 तक का विकसित भारत तक का जो अभियान प्राइम मिनिस्टर श्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने लिया हुआ है, तब तक इक्विटी मार्केट्स विल आउटपरफॉर्म. एंड एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम लोग अपनी एडवाइसेस को सीरियसली लेना चाहते हैं. बिफोर इन्वेस्टिंग, yes, the level of caution which a millennial would take would be slightly more compared to a Gen Z, but at the same time, both are looking for the right form of advisors.
And then how do we then cater to both of these user personas? Do we have the same solutions for them? Do we need to customize anything?
Sure. So that's a brilliant question, Pankaj. I think
Because a good advice is a good advice, I'm hoping, right?
yes. So we have multiple products on Univest.
Yeah.
One is a basket product, which became like an instant hit, especially during this last 1 year of fall, right? Coincidentally, today is the day that Nifty hit all-time high in 2024 on 26 September, which was 26,270. And today Nifty is at about 24,750 approx, which basically means we are -6, -7% down. So the millennials are actually valuing कि यार मुझे 5 साल के लिए यहाँ से बता अच्छी वैल्यू पे स्टॉक्स मिल रहे हैं, एक बास्केट बता दे, मुझे डेली उसमें ट्रेड नहीं करना. And we launched a product called Pro Baskets, which is like we have created 3 baskets out there. One is more for more risk takers, which is on mid cap, small cap. One is a blue chip basket, and one is more dividend based baskets. And we kind of give it to the users that इसमें हमने 6 से 8 stocks ही देते हैं. And depending on your own risk appetite, you can choose to invest in one of the baskets or 2 baskets or 3 baskets. You can choose to invest. This product has become a massive hit for us. And this is like, we don't even do marketing for this. People just come, and this is more of an upgrade for us. And a lot of people are actually buying this. This is more millennials. That is a behavior which I have seen. However, if I look at more Gen Zs and early age, early 20s, mid 20s, these people are more inclined towards the trading mindset. So they want like daily का मुझे वो trading ideas तो daily मुझे trade करना है. So that is how we kind of cater and differentiate between the two audiences. Gen Z is more on the trading side of things, and that's how we target them. And for millennials, we are targeting more long-term products, which is baskets on the application.
Makes a lot of sense here. If you don't go at the color of my hair, I would like to declare I am a millennial and I can relate a lot with what you are saying. But interestingly, you also mentioned that the market is 6% down, and I couldn't help but think of your first advice. That means अभी पैसा डालने का टाइम है, right? So the market is down, so this is what we will say, अभी invest करना है, right?
100%. मेरे हिसाब से तो इन्वेस्ट हर समय करना है.
Exactly.
बट मार्केट में सिर्फ एक ही चीज का ध्यान देना है कि स्टॉक मार्केट 21 दिन में पैसा डबल करने की स्कीम नहीं है. इफ यू थिंक 21 दिन में स्टॉक मार्केट में पैसा डबल होता है बाय ऑप्शन ट्रेडिंग को दिखा के कि मैंने कॉल खरीद ली 100 रुपए की, वो 500 रुपए हो गई. सो ये सारी स्कीम्स, हेरा फेरी एक मूवी आई थी और उसमें वो बिपाशा बासु ने बताया था 21 दिन में पैसा डबल होता है. अगर मूवी के अंदर बिपाशा बासु पैसा लेके जा सकती है वापस, तो imagine real life में क्या होता होगा. This is a very fundamental and a very basic fact, but you need to remember while trading and investing in stock market.
I have to revise my advice then. पैसा डालने का time है, but have Univest on your side.
Yes,
And then
100%.
have Univest and have patience on your side to let the fundamentals kick in into the companies and their businesses grow, and by virtue of that their stock price grow, and that will be when I think investors will make money. So having that patience and the holding power is very important. Don't come in the mindset of making quick gain and getting out.
करेक्ट, एब्सोल्युटली. वो एक सर्फ एक्सेल की बड़ी अच्छी लाइन थी, टैगलाइन सुनता था, दाग अच्छे हैं. हम लोग इंटरनली बोलते हैं लॉसेस अच्छे हैं, ऑल्दो ये सुन के कई सारे रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स मेरा खून करना चाहेंगे, बट मैं डिस्क्लेमर के साथ बोलना चाहता हूँ कि लॉसेस अच्छे इसलिए हैं बिकॉज great traders, what I have seen as a philosophy, the great traders have always booked more losses than profits. Profits they keep on carrying for longer, but losses वो जल्दी बुक करते हैं. और जो एवरेज ट्रेडर होता है या जो एवरेज इन्वेस्टर होता है वो प्रॉफिट्स जल्दी बुक करता है और लॉसेस को लंबा खींचता है. So that is what we do at
My
Univest.
portfolio also has some issues. I need to put all of those into the Univest app and make sure that the right advice comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very important. I think we're all suffering through that. Yeah.
That's why as a millennial, I love baskets.
Do you interact with your users?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that is a daily activity. In fact, one email ID which I keep on active all the time is support@univest.in, right? And in fact, in a lot of my webinars, I give my personal IDs also, that if you're not getting any kind of a support, which my support team has also not been able to resolve, please send it to me personally. I am totally okay with it. What I have, like, as a part of the story, if I talk about, there was a very interesting story. One day I get a call because typically I take weekly webinars and I keep on sharing my personal credentials, personal email IDs and sometimes phone numbers in a few cases also. And I get this call from a normal trader based out of Banaras. And he says कि सर मुझे आपकी पूरी एडवाइजरी टीम का डिटेल्स चाहिए. तो आई वॉज काइंड ऑफ लिटिल स्केप्टिकल कि हुआ क्या सर, आप मुझे बताइए कोई प्रॉब्लम हुई है. एंड ही सेज कि सर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई है, मुझे उनकी टिकट्स करानी है. आई सेड व्हाट हैपेंड. बोलता है मुझे सर बनारस में मैंने 20 लाख कैपिटल डिप्लॉय करके 80 लाख रुपए बनाए हैं. एंड सर मैंने अपना लाइफ का पहला घर खरीदा है.
Over a period of time or something.
ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ लास्ट 1 year.
1 year. Wow.
एंड ही सेइंग मैं स्टॉक मार्केट में पहले जो 2 लॉट्स या 5 लॉट से काम करता था, आफ्टर यूनिवेस्ट स्टार्टेड गिविंग मी hedged option calls, which is like the risk is protected, your downside is protected, the risk is mitigated. हम लोगों ने वहां पे उसे जब ये चीज कॉन्सेप्ट समझाए, he started investing wisely and trading wisely into stock markets. And that is when he started actually making money from options trading for the first time in his entire life. And he has been trading into markets since 2011. And that's when he said कि सर मैंने लाइफ का पहला घर खरीदा है यूनिवेस्ट की वजह से. मेरे को एडवाइजरी टीम के गृह प्रवेश पे उनको वहां पे बुलाना है. That was the moment that we felt कि यार this is it. I think this can become really, really big.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What a story.
As I said, walking into the room, the aha moment for me was Pranit. I have to say it was you, Pranit, that got me over the line over my apprehensions about the market on how we'll build a large outcome over here. We were very bullish about the macros, to be honest, when we met, but I was on the lookout for the right asset in this space, right? And there were two things that caught attention. One is you and the team that you had assembled, and the second was the vision, right? And the path towards that vision. That was pretty exciting for me. I know I brought in Pankaj pretty soon into this conversation. After our first meeting, I remembered speaking to Pankaj that we have been looking at this market now for nearly a decade. But I think there is something interesting that we have finally stumbled upon. Why don't you join in the next meeting? And then with the context and the history that we have in WealthTech, we would have a lot to discuss on this one. And I needed his counsel. Pankaj, you want to share what turned it for you?
Of course, before I jump into that, let me kind of say that, we have seen a lot of wealth tech players coming and a lot of them exist in the market, right? However, trying to find that one partner or player which, number one, is doing a lot of hard work in giving the right solution for the masses and the retail investor. We could not see that one player doing it in a complete fashion. Somebody is doing only brokerage, somebody is doing only mutual funds, everybody is doing one piece, but nobody is giving a composite solution. Now, as a retail investor, I have a limited sum of money, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever, and I want to spend it, and I need one platform to tell me how to do it. And not only where to put money, how to put, everything needs to be done. अब Zomato पे जाके you don't go and check, okay, I can see 5 dishes, but let me go to another app to order and then get me another app to deliver. That's all broken experience. You want to go to one app, place the order, and then forget about it.
Correct.
All of that was massively missing, and we felt that that needs to get built. So that was number one, very massive differentiator of Univest versus everybody else. Number two, at least as far as research is concerned, there are dimes and dozen informal Instagram and Telegram and YouTube influencers, etc., who are doing it. Some of them might be legit, as I said earlier, but a lot of them are not. We don't want Indians and the masses and the retail investors to go there. That is, whether they have the right credentials or not, we don't know. Whether they are SEBI approved and are on the right side of regulation, we don't know. The kind of claims that they are doing, is that auditable or are getting governed by SEBI laws, etc., we don't know. So if this market has to mature, you need responsible, regulated, right players guiding Indians to do investing, and that is the second big difference between a lot of players out in the market and Univest. And even if Univest were to give 5 or 7 ideas or 10 ideas and some small fraction of it, that is good enough. They have to be regulated and regulatory right. They have to be done with a lot of thoroughness and a lot of work, and all the right science and art needs to kind of go into doing it, and which your team has kind of built in a massive fashion using AI and very deep experienced investment professionals who examine and evaluate a lot of these stocks, and they do it. So from that perspective, we were very clear that a organized player who will get Indians to move away from all these unorganized players, number one. Number two, fragmented players who are solving bits and pieces of it, and give this one platform which becomes the trusted platform for Indians to do trading of any sort in India or get exposed to financial services products in the country. That was the need of the hour, and honestly, I have not seen any company do it in that fully composite way.
Thank you. I think from day one we were very clear. Firstly, thank you so much for kind of trusting Univest, and feels very.
By the way, we don't only trust Univest as an investor, we trust Univest as users.
Thank you so much. So I think a lot of it is to do with the clarity which we had initially while we were starting to build the product, that if you have to survive, and not just survive but thrive in the market, you have to have 3 values which are very important to the brand DNA. One is being a sage, second is being simple, and third is being seamless. So these three S's are very important for us. Why being a sage? Because traders who have lost money in the markets, they are looking for the right research. And when I say right research, it doesn't necessarily mean कि यार पैसे बनवाने कब है, but losses कब book करने हैं, that is also extremely important, and you have to gain the trust. Simple, because you will not realize that the real money which is lying in India and the people who are really trading into markets, वो आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा. ये सोशल मीडिया में जो कई सारे इन्फ्लुएंसर्स आपको दिखते हैं, आई एम सॉरी टू से, बट देयर आर हार्डली 1 or 2% विच आर जेन्युइन. इससे ज़्यादा वो सिर्फ अगर इतना ही पैसा बना रहे होते तो कभी भी वो टीवी पे आके या इन्फ्लुएंसर बन के वो इतना ज्ञान नहीं देते, राइट? द रियल पीपल हु आर मेकिंग मनी और हु आर लूजिंग, who have deployed a lot of capital into the markets are the ones जो आपको राजस्थान के किसी एरिया में मिलेंगे, टियर 3 टाउन में या गुजरात में ऐसे ऐसे लोग बैठे हैं जो आपसे इंग्लिश में बात करना नहीं जानते, वो आपके ऐप के एक्सपीरियंसेस पे वो मतलब देयर आर लॉट ऑफ दीज क्रेडिट कार्ड बिल पेमेंट्स ऐप फॉर एग्जांपल, आप उनसे यूआई समझाने जाओ उनको और उनके साथ अगर आप बात करो, बोलते हैं ये मुझे नहीं समझ आता, राइट? हमें तो कुछ ऐसा दे दे बस एक क्लिक में सब कुछ हो जाए. That is the kind of language which they use, and they pay you hefty lot of money as well. Right? I can't tell you obviously you have the numbers, but not on camera I can display. But ये लोगों के लिए अगर आप simple UI नहीं रखोगे, simple UX नहीं रखोगे, you will never be able to succeed and get into these pockets. And finally the seamlessness, like you rightly said with your Zomato example, कि मैं order कहीं और करूं और delivery के लिए किसी और को भेजूं, वो कभी भी यूजर 2, 4, 5,000, 10,000, 1,00,000 यूजर पहुंच जाएंगे, लेकिन रिपीटेबिलिटी नहीं आती. So seamlessness, आपको वो आदत लगना बहुत जरूरी है.
And obviously in that example, and it's very important that you said that, and we have discussed it offline many times, in a broken experience, वहाँ पर तो फिर भी scale हो जाएगा because hopefully that guy is picking hot food, but assume that because of the broken experience, the guy had to pick cold food. तो zero होता. Now in your example, if you're giving a stock tip, and it's not seamless where you can order it at the same time, तब तक तो उसका स्टॉक ऊपर नीचे जो होना है वो हो जाएगा. तो you end up losing money by waiting in your experience, while in the broken experience in the Zomato case that we discussed, that may or may not be the problem statement, and yet your Zomato has won with seamless. So imagine what will happen when seamless happens with you, and when you're already doing it, it needs to happen. Because you make more money with that view. What was your side of the story when you worked with us?
Okay, so starts with pre-investment time, and I'll also talk about the post-investment experience too, right? Pre-investment, I remember I went to about 50 odd VCs before, and the best part, I think the best thing which has happened to us is when we were starting up, which is March of 2022. That was the time जब investment period में लल आ गया था, because lot of investors saw some bad experiences in 2021, जब पैसा बस कोई स्टार्ट कर रहा है और वो पैसा और वैल्यूएशन मांगता था फाउंडर, तो वो मिल रही थी. बट 2022 में लॉट ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स रियलाइज्ड कि यार वो वाला अब सीन तो खत्म हो गया, एंड देयर वाज अ लल पीरियड व्हिच वाज कमिंग अप. सो लेस मनी विद अस एक्चुअली मेड अस थिंक कि यार अब तो ऑप्शन ही नहीं है बट प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस बनाना है, राइट? सो हमने प्रॉफिटेबली बनाया बाय लॉन्चिंग सब्सक्रिप्शन in the advisory space. When I went to 50 odd investors taking this particular product, despite us Univest becoming at a per employee level, we were earning about $1 million ARR. With just 10 or 12 employees, we reached to $10 million ARR in the first 7 months of launch. In the WealthTech ecosystem, I personally haven't seen, a lot of companies actually reaching 10 million ARR with 10, 12 people, and that too bootstrapped. We had less money in the bank, but we were doing more revenue per month with that lesser money. Why? Because our cash rotation was so strong that was helping us, right, really move fast. But still, despite all of those fantastic fundamentals, when I went to the VCs, everybody said, यार ये तो सिर्फ बुल मार्केट प्रोडक्ट है, तुम लोग टिप्स ही तो देते हो और तो थोड़ी कुछ करते हो. और they were not understanding that India is changing habits. Bertelsmann was the first VC, and special thanks to Rohit, and then Pankaj, of course, कि यार मैं जब मिला तो they understood the importance of changing habits which is happening in India.
That is on you, na? I remember walking into the room, and that was Pranit's energy. I told him कि यार मैं बहुत बेरिश घुसा हूँ मीटिंग में, and Pranit was like, he stood up on the whiteboard कि आप मुझे बताओ top 3 problems क्या हैं. And that was such a brilliant meeting that I still remember that very clearly.
Yeah, and but kudos to you guys कि आपने जिस तरीके से सोचा वो हर VC नहीं सोच पा रहा था. And that was a very big plus. I said, boss, and I told it to my investment banker specifically. मैंने कहा यार 2-4 मिलियन वैल्यूएशन में चलेगा, लेकिन यार Bertelsmann डेफिनेटली आना बोर्ड पे अच्छी चीज है. एंड सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर वाज कि you guys are a long term investor and a balance sheet investor, right? I mean, honestly, when I heard from you, Rohit, and then from Pankaj that, कि यार हम लोग ना 5-7 साल के लिए नहीं आते, तो हम लोग तुझे फोर्स नहीं करेंगे, तो वो कॉन्फिडेंस मिला. एंड अब मैं आता हूँ पोस्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट एरा. मजा आया when the money came into the bank on, I think, 26th of December is when the money hit the bank in 2024. 5th of January was our first board meeting. And I came to you and I said, Ki Pankaj, I am reducing my marketing spends by 30%.
I remember that.
Right? Any VC which I have probably, seen in my previous organizations, and I have a lot of respect for all of them. But at the same time, what I realized was that एक mentality होती है growth की कि यार अब VC का पैसा आ गया है तो grow करो कंपनी अब why have you taken money FD में रखने के लिए थोड़ी रखा है. But when I told Pankaj about this and I was shit scared, I can tell you Pankaj,
I
today
remember
I am
that.
opening up for the first time properly. मैं 5 दिन से सोच रहा था यार मैं कैसे बोलूं कि मैं यार मार्केटिंग स्पेंड कम करने वाला हूं, डीग्रोथ आ जाएगी बिजनेस में शायद, बट दैट वाज नॉट द राइट टाइम टू स्केल. And when I said this,
Because the markets were going down.
Exactly. Markets were at one of its worst since 1996. And I said, Pankaj, हम marketing spend कम कर रहे हैं. And you said, why? And I said, Pankaj, जब नवरात्रे आते हैं तो आपकी एक इन्वेस्टी कंपनी है लिशियस, क्या आप उसे फोर्स करते हो कि आप चिकन बेचो एक्स्ट्रा? तो आपने कहा नहीं. बारिश आती है तो क्या आप पेंट्स कंपनी को बोलोगे कि यार पेंट्स जाके बेच? बोलते हैं नहीं. तो मैंने कहा यार मार्केट डाउन है, मुझे क्यों कह रहे हो एडवाइजरी बेचो एक्स्ट्रा? And that was the point, and you said instantly okay. And there was no discussion after that. No problem, Pranit. We are there for you for the next 15 years. And that confidence actually, still stands with me. And I say, yaar, chinta mat kar. Ab market agar thodi theek ho rahi hai na, you scale, I know Bertelsmann is there by my side. That's my experience.
No, 100. I think 100%. I think that's been our experience and ethos. First of all, having that long-term orientation helps us do the right thing for the business. And more importantly, the business will only get built if users are happy with us. Now, in a market which is going down, if you come up with vanilla products of stock, I mean, there are other ways of making money which we can do in a down market with options and others. But putting that on the side, if we ask users to come and start interacting with Univest and all they see is money going bad for a short period of time, I'm sure the stock will go up after some time. But their first interaction with us is making losses. First of all, that is not what Univest is.
Correct.
And therefore, that is not the experience that they should get of Univest, number one. Number two, those users will anyway go away. So that marketing money has gone to waste.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the CACs become extremely expensive at that time because there is a fear in the market.
No, expensive to hai, but even after being expensive, it's actually zero return on that expensive CAC. So I think we, with Bertelsmann's 200-odd year history, so many portfolio companies in our portfolio, we have seen enough cyclicalities. I mean, in AgroStar, we see that in sowing season, farmers want to buy stuff, and non-sowing seasons, they don't want to buy stuff. We will not do marketing in non-sowing season, right? Rohit, you manage that company.
Or market different things. But I would say, it's easy to have a long-term vision, right? But I think we have structurally done things in the organization to actually enable that also. A lot of credit goes to Pankaj. I think first of all, everybody wins in the final outcome, right? So all of these are intermittent steps. Nobody in our organization is incentivized on what is happening exactly with those intermittent steps, because the end game is what matters. I think setting those structures and incentives in that manner, I think is a huge win. Second, the point that you mentioned, we are balance sheet investors, that helps a lot. There is no pressure.
And having a partner and a LP,
I was just
like
coming, that's the third
Bertelsmann,
thing.
who thinks in that fashion.
So having second is the balance sheet thing, which is there's no pressure to raise external money at random points in times, which has nothing to do with the life cycle of your portfolio companies, right? Or the need to show exit or partial exit. So we are completely as aligned as we can be with the founders. Combination of first two things, and then to Pankaj, a great LP at the back, right? A single LP in Bertelsmann who has done this globally, been doing it now for nearly 2 decades, 400 plus portfolio companies, understands the game, extremely supportive of entrepreneurship. Itself, Bertelsmann is a 190-year-old company. They know what it takes, right? They have survived 2 centuries. They know what the long game is. The combination of all these things is so unique, which actually it's a privilege actually to be playing this game, to be honest, in the market.
So yesterday I was at another podcast and I was talking about it. that podcaster asked me, what you say you are long-term capital, what is the definition of that, right? So in the first 10 years of our journey, Rohit and my journey and our journey has been very similar. We started almost together, BII. I used to say that we are the professional spouse for founders. We have not a 5 to 10 year relationship. We have a 20-year relationship, at least 15-year relationship, because that's how we think whether we'll stay in the company or so on. And that's a definition of the long-term nature of our relationship. I think I have now revised that completely. I was 100% wrong. I think it's a 40 to 50-year journey.
Wow.
Because right now with companies where we invested and we have been with them for 11, 12 years, some companies we have sold, some companies are still in the portfolio, we have ended up building so deep relationships with the founders, their families, their children, that I am thinking what I will be doing when their kid is getting married after 20 years. Because transaction wise, relationship, whether we are invested, not invested, whether we sell, etc., all of that can happen in that 15 to 20 year period or 10 to 15-year period. And that is where, of course, our capital stays and goes and finishes, and that relationship. But I think once you build so deep relationships where we are actually becoming thought partners, we have grown and built and gone through that journey together, I don't think there are any set of founders who, even after exiting some of those companies, our relationship has become any softer.
And in some cases, we are getting the privilege to back some of our founders as well. So we also have renewal in our business now.
So I think I'm revising my relationship holding period, not the investment holding period, but relationship holding period to go to about 40 to 50 years, as long as we are alive.
On a lighter note, I think मुझे आपका एक auto pay on करना पड़ेगा for every 2 years of $10 million.
Absolutely.
Right.
Pranit, given that option trading is fairly complicated for retail users, how can they work with Univest to make money on a sustained basis, not always, but sustained basis?
Sure. So, Pankaj, what we realized was that there are 3-4 things if we do it right. Retail traders also can start making money from option trading, which has traditionally not been the case before Univest era. Right. Now, what are those 3-4 things? One, retail traders actually end up doing a lot of option trading in naked buy calls. राइट होता क्या है, लोग 10 रुपए लगाते हैं, 10 रुपए में 2 रुपए बनाए, फिर अगली बार 20 रुपए लगाते हैं, फिर 4 रुपए बनाते हैं, फिर उसके बाद एकदम से 50 रुपए बनाते डालते हैं और सारे के सारे पैसे चले जाते हैं. दिस इज अ वेरी कॉमन फिनोमिना. Nobody talks about hedging, which the institutional investors actually do. They don't talk about कि यार रिस्क को मिटिगेट कैसे करना है. मार्केट्स में ना थ्रिल के लिए आते हैं लोग. जो ऑप्शन ट्रेडिंग है ना, वो थ्रिल है. लगाएंगे 500 रुपया और वो 500 मतलब 5,000 रुपए लगाया और उसके बाद 1,000 रुपए बनाए तो देखिए यार 20% एक दिन में कमा लिया. बट जब 50,000 लगा के 40,000 चले जाते हैं, उस दिन कोई अपने दोस्त को जाके ये नहीं बोलता कि यार मेरे 40,000 रुपए चले गए.
continue because the high is higher than the low.
Exactly. So think of it like markets को लोग gambling की फॉर्म में लेना आते हैं, which is not the case and which should not be the case, right? It's not Dream 11.
So Univest increases the hit rate basically.
Exactly. Your hit rate, and it also restricts your losses. How? By providing you hedged option calls. हम लोग सिर्फ ऑप्शन बाइंग में नहीं बल्कि ऑप्शन सेलिंग में भी काम करते हैं रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए. एंड वी क्लियरली टेल कि मिनिमम कैपिटल इतना रिक्वायर्ड है. अगर बाइंग की कॉल्स दे भी रहे हैं तो नीचे उसको हेज करके रखा है ताकि मैक्सिमम लॉस आपका 10 या 15% से ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. वी टॉक अबाउट द कॉन्सेप्ट्स लाइक पोजीशन साइजिंग कि अगर आपके पास 100 रुपए स्टॉक मार्केट में डालने के लिए तो 10 रुपए से ऊपर एक पर्टिकुलर कॉल के अंदर मत डालो, ताकि अगर 10 रुपए का 10% जाता है तो आपकी जेब से सिर्फ 1 रुपए गया, विच इज नॉट वर्थ योर टाइम एंड योर एनर्जी. वरना रात को लोग नेकेड कॉल्स लेके जाए, रात को लोग सो नहीं पाते. दैट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन यूनिवेस्ट एंड एनी अदर नॉर्मल way of where people consume knowledge to actually invest in markets. So Pankaj, I think before you were investing, you told that you became a Univest user yourself first.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what is the role of Univest in your life?
Look, very simple. All of us have our day jobs. We do a lot of work, and doing investments for our wealth takes a backseat most of the time, and therefore having a trusted partner to tell us what to do, when to do, how to do, covering all of that in one bucket just helps me do my night job very easily and takes all that burden off my mind. So that is what Univest for me is today. I want to share one story. For me, I feel that Univest will be successful when users will come and tell that it has made massive difference to their lives, very similar to how people have said when they used to buy, for example, Reliance stock, and that Reliance stock got them to buy a house, got them to get their children married, educated, etc. And these are stories that all of us have heard growing up. If 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, people come and said, I traded on Univest for 10 years, 15 years, and that got me the corpus to get my child married, that would be the ultimate, I would say, solution that you're looking for.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that's one thought which I would also live with probably from here on. What about you, Rohit? I mean, what do you think Univest has done to you in terms of the change in your daily life, if it has?
Yeah.
Right? And you can be as honest as possible.
Yeah, for me, I divide my investments into 2, 3 buckets. There's definitely a long-term bucket where I'm extremely passive, don't touch that money at all. But there is that, little bit of pool that you need to proactively manage. And there is no time in your day jobs, you don't get the satisfaction of actually taking advantages of the current trends or whatever is happening in the macroeconomy. This actually allows me or gives me the sense that I'm able to participate in the biggest trends in a very proactive manner rather than, just putting all my money passively, and I don't have to spend too much time on that. So that has been brilliant. For me, success would be, actually, Pankaj put it, there are so many people, that keep on asking for tips. We ourselves have gone through that, right? I think this is the most common conversation on our office floor also, right? Ki paisa kahan dalna hai, kisi ke paas tip hai, etc. We have all gone through that, in our early jobs. I think when this whole, the new generation coming in, when that conversation stops, because Univest है, tip ऐसे इधर उधर जाके मांगनी नहीं है. You know where to go to do your research, to validate your research, or to find completely fresh ideas and trust and build a portfolio and invest. That is what Univest is doing to the country.
Let's conclude this episode with a fun rapid fire segment. One investing metric you obsess over.
Repeat rates.
One non-negotiable trait you look for in fintech founders.
Finance, fin in fintech comes before tech.
What's harder, earning trust and financial advice or monetizing it?
I think absolutely trust. Trust takes time to build. It has to be, we have to repeat the performance many times, and hence definitely trust.
Most underrated feature on Univest?
How can people get timely information on when to exit the bad stocks from their portfolio, and that is also available for free?
What's tougher to earn, customer trust or regulatory trust?
I would say customer trust. Regulatory trust, even though difficult, is a set of rules. It may take grunt work, but customer trust has a higher bar.
One feature you wish every fintech product had?
Look, I obsess about user acceptance of products. So if we are solving for users' needs on a continuous basis, that is what I would want all fintech products to solve.
What's harder today, building trust or driving monetization?
Building trust.
Univest was cash flow positive within 18 months. What was one ruthless early prioritization for that?
Focus on launching only high gross margin products at an affordable cost.
One global WealthTech innovation India should adopt?
If I think about Vanguard, I would say if you remove complexity and give customer a true value proposition, you can scale like anything.
Financial advice, trust, speed or personalization? Pick one.
Tough, but yeah, trust comes first, followed by speed.
One feature that could transform retail investing in India?
I think Pranit talked about it, how to cut our losses, because that's the most underlooked topic from a user perspective.
If not investing, what would you be doing?
Oh, I would probably be an entrepreneur or working for a bold entrepreneur.
You've scaled a 200 plus member team across Choreo and Univest. One leadership lesson that stayed with you?
अकेले पैसा बनाने के बारे में मत सोचो, सबके बारे में सोचो.
One founder habit that signals long-term success?
The rate of learning curve. The best founders rate at the speed of anything and are outliers on that curve.
What's the first thing you look for in a startup?
I think outside of all the usual things of the product market fit and great numbers and large market and a user need, definitely spending a lot of time with the founders to see whether they have the energy and the vision and the mission to do it, but also whether we align in our thinking and we can go for a long period of time working together, probably decades in that journey.
A tough love line from Pankaj or Rohit that stuck with you.
Growth चाहिए, but not at the cost of doing something wrong to the customers. So अगर जहाँ पे customer experience की बात आए और revenue growth की बात आए, पहले customer experience को choose करो.
A Univest milestone that validated your thesis?
I think not only checking out repeats, but also seeing that we are building a ecosystem of products for the user, which is heavily needed in this country.
One investing mistake you will never repeat.
As a venture capitalist, it took me 3 to 4 years to realize that we are in the business of buying risk. I used to focus a lot on downsides and how to mitigate risk. I soon realized that it is all about the upside, and my filtering criteria has now shifted to what can go right in this business.
One myth about retail investors you'd like to bust?
Indian retail investor doesn't want to pay for getting the quality research advice.
What defines an ideal VC founder relationship?
I keep saying it, professional spouse. The ability for the founder or the investor to call each other at 11 p.m. at night and have a very honest conversation about the business, which adds massive value to each other. That is the best relationship.
What personal metric defines impact for you?
जिस दिन लाखों लोग आके ये बात बोलेंगे कि यूनिवेस्ट से मैंने I did not just create wealth, but also it helped me made calmer as a person when it comes to stock market trading or investing. That'll be the day I'll be the most happy person as a Univestor.
Pranit, thank you for joining. We have loved every part of the journey till date, and we look forward to building the company for the next decade or so. We are super excited, and it's been an amazing ride. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pankaj, for inviting me over, and thank you so much for trusting Univest.
So this is the start of the relationship. As we mentioned, very nascent journey right now, but we look forward to the years that are coming.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pranit.